Please remember that the Lucy Pod is not a replacement for professional medical advice. If you have questions or concerns about your own amazing brain, please speak to a medical professional. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I speak to you all today, the peoples of the Kulin Nation. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Lucy Pod. I hope that you are all well and are staying safe. Today I have a guest joining me to talk about all things ADHD. Please welcome Kendra to the pod. Hi Kendra, how are you?
Hi, I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So tell us about yourself, plug your Instagram, your work, tell us about what you do, who you are, and your interests.
Well, I am a mom. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. I am a startup founder. I worked in the health and wellness space for a good 15 years on everything from health and nutrition, exercise, death care, women's health and genetics, like pretty much any area of health and wellness, I've probably touched it in some way in my work. I'm super passionate about not just like health in the medical sense, but like having quality of life in your day to day. That's something I think about a lot, and maybe it is one of my interests in a way. And I used to be an actor. I'm a part-time film producer, and
that's awesome.
I love the arts too.
I love that. So before we get into it, I like to ask my guests a series of 3 questions to get us warmed up. So the first one is, when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
Yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 34. It was during the pandemic. So it was, late diagnosis. I was also pregnant, so lots going on there. Oh my God.
That's hard. Yeah. That's really hard. The second question is, what are your current hyperfixations or special interests?
Right now, I've been just learning everything there is to know about community building. And I also have been thinking a lot about how to apply like creative practice and creative, like the arts and craftsman methodology to building your company, building your whatever it is that you're into, but just like having an artistic approach. And I think I've been into that because I spent so much time working in Silicon Valley that I felt pretty like jaded by some of the like hyper masculine tech energy that is very like data driven and linear. And that is not at all my process, especially as an ADHDer. And now that I like know my brain more, I kind of gave myself permission to be in a different kind of productive cycle, I guess, is a good way to put it.
I love that. We're going to talk about Silicon Valley because that's so interesting. That is very, very cool. The third and final question is, what is an ADHD trait or thing that you do that you feel is unique to you?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't even know if it's unique to me because I talk to like hundreds of people with ADHD every week and I keep seeing patterns. But I think my big one is leaving stuff in the toaster or in the microwave or like whenever I'm preparing food, I like halfway through making it wander off and forget it's there. And then my sister always joked that I've been leaving bagels in the toaster since I was like 9.
You go. So you forget so you leave it there even though you're like prepping it, you'll like forget that it's in there. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I actually threw away my toaster because I realized like if I've been doing this since I was 9, like maybe I should stop trying to toast bagels. And now I make them on like an iron. Yeah, like it's not working for me.
Fair. Fair. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions. So I wanted to ask you, given that you were late diagnosed with ADHD, when you were diagnosed, was it a sense of relief of you finally knew what was going on, or was it a sense of grief of what could have been and frustration of, you know, how did people not notice that I was ADHD and struggling?
Yeah, it was at first I was just like numb kind of. And I think because I was pregnant, I didn't have capacity to process it. It was also the pandemic. So there was like a lot going on there. And I lived in San Francisco at that time. And so it was like the stay-at-home orders were extremely strict. It was like I was
Mm.
pretty much locked in my 600 square foot apartment.
All right.
Yeah, so I think I got the news and then I read the one book my therapist recommended I read, and I thought,
Mm-hmm.
interesting, but whatever. Like, what can I do about it? And then just pushed it out of my brain. But
Mm.
after I had my baby, I started having a lot more symptoms, and
Wow.
having a harder time managing my ADHD. And then I went through like this period of just like dysfunction essentially, and I
Mm.
hit burnout. And then
Mm.
when I started to recover from the burnout, then I was like processing the grief that comes up.
Mm.
And so I almost went through it backwards from like a lot of people in my community that have the relief first. I definitely had the grief first. And then
Mm.
after I was able to process that, I felt more like self acceptance. And
Mm.
then kind of the relief came in.
That would have been really hard being diagnosed whilst pregnant. That would have been so overwhelming because I'm assuming like with pregnancy you've already got like so many hormones and your mood and everything, and then you add ADHD which you don't know about. It must have been very like confusing to know what would have been causing what. It just sounds like, yeah, awful. That sounds so hard.
Yeah, it was like, I don't even know if it was even reverse of that, because when
Mm.
I was pregnant, I felt way better. I
Oh
actually
wow.
felt the best I ever felt because I had more hormones in my body. And I think that actually
Mm.
like relieved some of the ADHD symptoms. I felt way
Okay.
less impaired when I was pregnant. And I also had
Wow.
zero migraines, which I've always had. And I hear a lot of
Okay.
ADHDers have too.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
I think I falsely like believed like, oh, I'm fine. I was like, no, I'm not fine. Should
Okay.
probably listen to this information and do something about it. Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there maybe is a correlation because I've actually heard that some ADHDers didn't necessarily feel like they don't necessarily feel 100% better or their symptoms go away, but they feel a bit more in control, which is interesting because you hear the opposite where it's like pregnancy, I was hormonal, I had brain fog, it was awful. But I have heard sometimes that it can balance people out at times. So I'm hoping that's the case for me when I like have children and I'm not off the planet and insane with the ADHD. That is, yeah. So you felt the grief and then the relief. How did your family and friends react to your diagnosis? Were they like, "Yep, that checks out," or was it surprise or shock or denial?
Um, my family, that it's not really a thing I talk to with them about a lot,
Mm,
because um it's just like not in their belief system, which is probably
mm,
partially why I didn't get diagnosed when I was younger. And I
mm,
know I have a sibling who was diagnosed, but then I don't think anything like happened after that. It was sort of like
mm.
he was diagnosed at school and then it was kind of dropped.
Okay.
So I mean, I probably could talk to them about it, but I feel like I would hear the kind of text around be careful of labels and stuff like that. And my
Mm,
friends, I I'm slowly over time finding out that most of my friends are neurodivergent too, so it's fine. They all got it. Like nobody was weird about it, and yeah, I think it was more tricky to navigate with work.
okay. How come?
Yeah. Um, at the time when I got my diagnosis, I was working for a pretty big startup that was a genetics lab, and
Oh wow.
I just didn't like I just didn't have enough information to know if it was like safe to bring it up or if I
Mm,
even should. And I didn't understand what the diagnosis meant for me enough to know that I needed to like maybe find accommodations at work.
mm,
But everything kind of naturally played out. I had my baby, and then now I'm building my own company. So it's not really an issue anymore. But I think
mm,
I was fine to be open with it with my friends, but I didn't really want like all my coworkers knowing.
mm. Um, talking about your work in that environment, so you're saying basically it probably wouldn't have been very hospitable for an ADHDer to come up. With you mentioned you worked in like Silicon Valley, and how that was sort of like quite difficult. Can you tell me more about that, and why there was this sense of not feeling comfortable enough to bringing it up? Because even though I'm sure there's laws and protections in the States where like you should be able to disclose you have, you know, a disability or a neurological condition and they can't discriminate, but that doesn't mean that it's, you know, in practice at all. So can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think for me it was like super layered. Actually, Silicon Valley probably has a higher skew of like neurodivergent people in general, especially on the spectrum. Like I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
neurodivergent people that are just like not diagnosed, or they are and they don't say it. But
Tech bros, and it's like, yeah, you're just
uh-huh.
autistic, mate. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in a way, like it was kind of a good environment for me because I worked for so many startups that were like early stage, which meant things were always changing, priorities were always shifting, there was always new stuff to work on. I touched every single department in every company I worked on, which was really fun, and like I never got bored, and when I did get bored I would just like go to a new
Move on.
company or a
I
new
love
like
that.
industry. So yeah, so like that was great. I think when I had the diagnosis, I was just nervous about it because I didn't know enough of like, do I need to bring this up? Should I bring it up? And like thinking back, the company I was at was actually pretty great. Like they probably would
Mm.
have handled it really well if I
Mm.
approached it. And I think they even had a disability like employee resource group in the
Oh wow.
company. And I
Mm.
just didn't know those were things that I could look for. And also because I was generally the only woman or one of the only women in a lot of the companies I worked for, I already had that kind of like
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
And then when I got pregnant, that was like a whole nother layer because like Silicon Valley is like skews very young and parent, it's like not very parent friendly because they want you
No.
to be working around the clock and like,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm like, I'm not going to add one more thing for like people to just
Have
have
an issue
bias
with it's
against
like,
me
yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she's pregnant and ADHD. Oh my god, like that's so annoying. Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I bet. You said I was looking at your like Instagram, and you talk about the healing power of community. Tell me more about that and like the sense of community, because I talk about a lot the ADHD community, but I don't know that many ADHDers in my personal life. And when I do, it's like very much like, oh yeah, like you're another ADHD person, but I don't really have community with them, which I think I'm okay with. But I'm assuming I mean, obviously it has a healing power, so I'd like to know. I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, because I worked in so many different areas of health and wellness, I
Mm,
feel like I got a really good broad perspective on like things people were trying. And I kept seeing women coming to like uh, diet or food restriction or like
mm,
exercise programs and supplements and like trying all the things, but not like really getting like the needle not completely moving, just feeling a
mm,
little better, but not actually healing. And
mm,
the more I started to like pay attention to what was happening in tech, the more I realized like all the stuff we used to get from community was starting to be um, basically like operationalized into businesses. So it was like we used to go sit around the table and like have long meals and conversations together that like somebody
yes.
cooked, and like most cultures have food that's like pretty well balanced except for American food. Like we just have like packaged crap like and and like we've lost those things, and so now you have to get your
Mm,
nutrition from like a shake or a supplement. And then
yeah.
like cities are not walkable anymore, and we used to walk to get to the grocery store, and then you would like walk past other people and talk to them, and there's
Yeah.
all these like small points of connection that make you
Mm-hmm.
feel less isolated. And you know, if you needed, like if you were sick and you needed support, people would bring you meals or they'd come take care of you or they'd come spend time with you. But now it's like we have here in the States, like all these food delivery services and telehealth and like all these different things that you have to basically buy to get the care that you need.
Mm,
And and it's really just like eroded our natural communities. But
Mm,
then because ADHDers, like, and neurodivergent people in general, think differently, operate differently, sometimes just have this underlying sense of not fitting in. And so when you join a community of people who get what that experience is like, it's very validating. And then you have the connection, and then you have people who are willing to like give you suggestions or like say, hey, I tried this or I tried this, and we can kind of like swap ideas.
mm,
And then you're problem solving with people, you're getting some of your need to be seen and heard met, and you're also
mm.
like socializing, which can be really challenging for ADHD people, like just out in the world with a lot of energy. Like some people don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, overwhelmed. Yeah, the first thing I get from people when they first meet me, they say, oh my God, when I met you, I found you so intimidating. You were so like a lot. It's like, yeah, maybe you were just boring.
I know,
Maybe you
right?
were just boring.
Yeah.
Making up for whatever you've clearly not got. I'm just making up for it. I'm adding a bit.
Just adding some spice to this
Just a bit
interaction.
of
Yeah.
spice, just yes, yes. No, I agree. I think we've lost the idea of the village, and people think it's a bit woo woo. They're like, I'm not going to go live on a commune. It's like that's all we're saying. We're just saying that it's like nice to be in community with people. That's what a society is. It's community and communities that come together. And it would be a lot nicer if we could, yeah, do that. But it's been hijacked quite a bit by, yeah, tech and capitalism and the way that we operate. We're a very sort of I don't want to say it's very isolationist and individualistic. It's very individualistic the way that we operate. And you don't even have to be ADHD, but I think everyone needs people. Like we all need people. Some people, yeah, maybe are like, I like being alone, I like being isolated, but I don't think isolation does any good for anybody at a certain point,
Yeah.
whether you're ADHD or not. I think we need people. Doesn't mean we're dependent. It just, we need them, you know?
We're interdependent. Like
Yeah.
yeah, we don't need to like leech off of people, but we
No,
do.
no.
We are all connected, and definitely like there's a lot of research now that shows that loneliness is more deadly than smoking.
Mm,
Um, that's pretty, I
scary.
mean, that makes sense to me. I think
Mm,
if you think about evolution, we would not survive alone, right? So
no,
we're
totally not.
hardwired to be in community. And if we're not, then our brains think something is wrong. And then like the people around us also think something is wrong
Yeah.
because it's just super unnatural.
It's very unnatural. I always say that, like, why do we get pets? Pets don't need us. We need pets. I need my dog. My dog actually doesn't need me. And people laugh. I'm like, that's a friend. We need people. We need someone, whether it's a person or a dog. We are not solitary creatures. We need people. We need dogs. We need everything, like more than anything else. The other question I was going to ask you, going back a bit in terms of the late diagnosis, when you were younger, what I know you said that with your family it's probably not in their belief system, but did you ever have a niggling sense that there was something going on, that there was something wrong with you? And I say wrong in air quotes. Or was it just like you just didn't think about it and it didn't come up for you?
Yeah, it's so tricky. I feel like yes and no. Like
Mm,
I grew up in a really small community in a mountain
mm-hmm,
town, and like my upbringing was kind of untraditional anyway. And
mm-hmm,
then when I went to, I think when I was like in elementary school, I noticed it a few times. Like
mm.
I got in trouble for reading too fast in class, and then like things like that, or like,
Ah, same. Same. Like, you
yeah,
didn't really read that book. It's like, I just read fast, guys. Yeah, I
yeah.
got that as
And
well.
then,
Mm-hmm.
which is a weird thing to punish kids for in a school where their job is to teach you to learn and to read. I'm like,
I
whatever.
don't get that. I don't get why people get annoyed that I read fast. It's like, it sounds like a skill issue for you guys. Like, if you can't read fast, like, I don't know I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, me neither. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah. And I know like I was technically in like a talented and gifted program, but
Okay.
my school was not like well resourced. And so what that meant was my teacher said, well, since you know all the spelling words, here's a dictionary. Go out in the hall and pick your own spelling words for the next test. And I internalized that as read the dictionary. So I did, like cover to cover,
I
which
love that.
later I heard was like a pretty neurodivergent thing to do. But I, like, when I was
I've
a
done
kid,
that.
I just thought, yeah, okay, see, yeah.
Yep. But that's a really weird thing to say to a kid, like go make up your own spelling words.
I
Like go
know.
choose
And
them. Yeah.
yeah, I think they just didn't know what to do with me. And I did feel like that sometimes, like people didn't know what to do with me. And
Mm.
um I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really have that much trouble making friends just because I had like my four little like girlfriends from in elementary school, and then I had my one best friend like all the way through to high school, and I didn't think I
Mm.
needed more than that one best friend. Like maybe that is unusual, but to me I just didn't know differently.
Mm.
Um and then in college I did definitely notice, like, because there were some areas where I was like way ahead of my
Yes.
classmates. And then
Mm.
there were
Mm.
other areas where I was like super struggling. And there was definitely like a social code at school that I did not understand.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know how much of that is like from my upbringing or from
Mm.
my neurodivergence. And I don't know if I
Mm.
have some autism as well. I'm not sure. I haven't had like a
Mm.
formal evaluation, but some of the symptoms make sense to me.
Mm. What do
Um,
you mean by the codes that you didn't pick up on, or that you weren't? Yeah, that you weren't familiar with.
yeah, there was like all the girls were like, I'm going to join a sorority. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, to me, that seemed like a
Yeah,
crazy idea.
I
And
agree.
now I understand. Yeah. I mean, I was like, do not trap me in a building with like 50
Ew.
girls. I will literally lose my
Oh,
mind.
can't think of anything worse.
Um,
Sounds like a horror movie. Oh, and it
it
is. It always
does.
is. It always is. You always hear horror stories. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a lot of drama, and like, but the drama was like how they connected. And I think that's the kind of social code that I didn't understand. And I was
Mm.
definitely like pretty direct with people, and I don't like, they didn't like that. And
Mm.
I also studied, and I didn't realize that like in the US, you go to college to network, not to study. Like
Mm.
your grades is not usually the most important part unless you're trying to like go get a PhD. Um,
Mm.
and so like people would go to parties and I would go to the library, and then like I'd go back to my dorm and the girls would kind of like tease me or ostracize me a little bit.
Oh.
Um
Mm.
and I was confused because I'm like, I thought we were in college to study. Like why,
Yeah.
like what is, like why would you pay so much money to come here? But
And
later
then just
also I
party.
realized,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I paid for college myself and a lot of them didn't, and I think that was the difference too. And I just, so it's hard to piece out like how much of it was like my life in general and how much was
Mm.
actually ADHD.
Mm.
um but yeah, I think I had a harder time for a while after the diagnosis actually than before, because I was just a little bit oblivious before.
Mm. What can you talk more about? Like you had a harder time after the diagnosis.
Yeah. Um, well, I started like noticing all the things that I was like, oh, that's related to ADHD. Oh, that's related to ADHD. And then like
Mm.
I was always extremely highly sensitive to stuff. Like if I get in an elevator with someone that's wearing perfume, I'll like get a migraine. And
Mm.
then I have the like sound sensitivity where, you know, you're in a restaurant and you can hear every single conversation in the room. Like that's a pretty ADHD thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't know other people didn't experience the world like that. And so
Yeah.
I think I did like start to try and change my lifestyle around to like navigate those sensory sensitivities better. And then
Mm.
because I had a lot of like sleep disruption from having a baby, and then there's a lot of like touching and noise and smells when you have kids, that
Yeah.
I got like way sensory overloaded and my symptoms got worse. And
Mm.
then I was thinking about them more. And then I started thinking about like, oh, that's why, you know, when I was in college, or these things were really tricky, or why like I could never process any information in class. I could go home and read
Yeah.
it in the textbook and I was fine. But
Yeah.
if they told me in the lecture, like it went straight in and out.
Mm.
yeah. And so I could like work backwards and piece together all the things,
Yeah.
but and that made me super aware of them. So then I started to like get a little bit self-conscious of, oh, this is like my ADHD showing up, like, and then it was,
Everything, yeah. It's like,
yeah,
oh, that's the ADHD. And sometimes it might not have been, but you're like, it's the ADHD, and it just, yeah, it would be overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah. I think, yeah, even as someone who was not late diagnosed, who was diagnosed quite young, I was 13. And even now when certain things come up, and it's usually when I'm in a bad mood and it's actually got nothing to do with my ADHD, I'll be like, it's because I'm ADHD that thing is happening, and it's the ADHD that I'm doing this. And it's like, actually, no, you're just like in a bad mood and tired. It's got actually nothing to do with your ADHD, but ADHD is responsible for so many things and impacts every aspect of our lives that we tend to not like but I think like over pathologize our behaviors, but it's because it does affect our behaviors, and it just is. It's really hard to differentiate what is a you thing, a circumstantial thing, or an ADHD thing, or all three. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't think anyone knows how to do it yet, and when they do, they can let me know. They can let us know if they found the trick.
do we need to know? I think that's what I started asking myself is like, if the
Yeah.
tools work regardless, like, do you
Mm,
need to know what is what? Like, sometimes
true.
it's like reassuring to know,
Yeah.
but then it can get to be this giant mental puzzle that's like very draining. And most of the tools for managing like bad mood or fatigue or they work for ADHD or
ADHD.
fatigue. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. They all
I mean, the
intertwine.
executive, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you were
I
going to
don't
say the
know.
executive functions. Yeah, look, yeah, yeah. I mean, it would be nice to know sometimes, especially, I mean, things that are maybe, I don't know, a bit more severe. Like if I was experiencing migraines, which is not something I deal with, but I know a lot of ADHDs who do, I wouldn't, now if I ever get a migraine, I know I'm going to be like, it might be the ADHD. So I'll want to know, is it definitely the ADHD, or did I just not drink enough water today? Or am I not well or something? I think, yeah, we tend to over pathologize, and social media likes to do that to us, where there'll be a behavior that people will say, oh, I'm so ADHD, I do this, and I don't necessarily do it. So I'll think, am I really ADHD if I don't do that thing that everyone else is doing? Yeah, we got to stop that. I got to get off social media for that sort of stuff. Yeah, it can be a lot. It can be
Yeah. I mean,
intense.
that's why I started a private community because I was like, you could feel validated by social media, but then it
Mm.
can go way too far. And then there's like all this medical misinformation. And then,
Oh,
yeah, like you said, like, is this ADHD? Is that like, I don't do that. And then you start going down this rabbit hole. Like, I don't think
oh,
that's helpful to anyone. Then you can
not
get
at
stuck
all.
on the scroll.
Totally. And even in neurotypical, it would be like a lot like I've that trend of if you sleep with your hand like against your face, like in this position. And for people who, the listeners, it's like when your hand is curved over and like the palms facing downwards, that means you're ADHD or neurodivergent. And then you've got all these neurotypicals going, I do that. I think I might be ADHD. It's like, no, that's just how people sleep. Like some people just sleep with their hand like that. It's actually got nothing to do with ADHD. If you rub your feet together, it means you're autistic. No, I just like rubbing my feet together to go to sleep because my feet are cold. That's it, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
I did
it's crazy.
uh it is crazy. Yeah. It was just making me think of like when I did Tai Chi and there's an exercise where you like bump your feet together and it brings
Oh,
the
yeah.
energy down to your feet and helps you like relax and fall
Yeah.
asleep. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's like embedded in an ancient practice. And it's just like a way to help manage your energy. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
somebody with ADHD needs to do that more, like
Right.
because they have more energy. But you're right. It's
Totally.
like everything is on the human, like they're all human behaviors because ADHDers are human.
A human, yeah. And it's a spectrum, like, there, and we all, and I don't like to say the term, like, I don't like to say the phrase, everyone's a little on the spectrum, everyone's a little ADHD, but there are so many traits and behaviors that exist in ADHDs that also exist in neurotypicals, just to a lesser extent, vice versa with neurotypical traits and behaviors that exist within ADHDers. It's not all we don't experience the same thing. Like there's some universal things I think that are pretty ADHD, but there are others that are like, yeah, that's just like a human it's just a human behavior. Like, yeah, the Tai Chi move of like rubbing or putting your feet together. It's just a behavior that we've done, and it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't need a label. Labels are good, but not every behavior needs to be diagnosed per se.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you don't need to get hung up on it, and like we can identify with it, but it doesn't have to be our whole entire identity because we're so many more things than just that.
So many.
And
So
yeah,
many. Absolutely.
for
I
sure.
agree. I wanted to talk about burnout with you because you said that that's something that, you sort of talk about within your community. And I hear burnout thrown around a lot. I hear it thrown around in corporate spaces, in workspaces. And the way I've understood it, and I'm probably wrong, is it's the opposite of like maybe work related stress. It's like a different type. It's not permanent. You can kind of come out of burnout, but you can't come out of stress. But I might be wrong. So I'd like to know more about the idea of burnout.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I think of and define stress is like a mental state of having more things in your mind than you can take action on. So
Mm,
stress is like a constant feeling of overload, and like it chronic stress can definitely lead to burnout and really
mm,
like fast-paced work environments,
mm,
especially if you're neurodivergent and your brain is more cyclical, like you have high energy, lots of bursts of creativity, and then you kind
mm.
of like crash a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't even like to say crash because I feel like that period of time where you're like more low energy is really fruitful. Like it's
Mm,
generally where I'm pretty introspective, and then I have like all the things that were flying around in my brain kind of settle, and then it's like almost like a filter, like if you see like a muddy pond and then it goes still and then all this stuff
mm-hmm,
goes down, and it's like our brains can
mm-hmm.
be muddy ponds, and then we need
Yes.
just time to filter everything out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like
Yes.
that's a good, like it's not a crash, it's like something we need to maintain our, like just the way we think.
It's a come down, but not like in a bad way. It's just like a
Yeah.
rest period. Yeah. Yep. Mm,
Yeah, so I think sometimes ADHDers can have burnout from not honoring that rest period. And
mm,
then I like that you called it rest. I think that's like
mm,
really wise insight because that is essentially what it is.
mm.
Um, but I also see burnout coming a lot from like a ton of masking because it takes up so much energy to like be acting normal, or like if you're in
Neurotypical.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
classroom
Yeah.
setting or in an
Yeah.
office
Mm,
environment where you have to like monitor your face when you're on a Zoom call, or
yes.
keep your legs still when you're like in a meeting or whatever.
Yep.
That is like very draining for people. And if you're doing it nonstop, it can cause burnout.
Mm,
And then I think the third thing is like not working on stuff you're interested in, because we're so
mm.
interest driven in our
Yes.
like the way our brains work that a lot of times jobs you do the same thing over and over and they're no longer like mentally stimulating, and we lose interest, and then that's when burnout can happen. So um it depends on the person and like where you're
Mm.
at in your life. And but stress and burnout are not the same thing, but I think
No.
stress can cause burnout, but
Burnout.
burnout is not only caused by stress.
Mm, mm. And I mean, and we're not experts, saying this, but what would be the difference between like standard burnout, the ones that you just hear people use a lot, which they use it when they've had like a tiresome day? I'm like, you can't be burnt out for a day. I feel like burnout, it's a longer period, but I might be wrong. And what's the difference between ADHD burnout? Or are they kind of the same, but it's maybe harder for the ADHDer to come out of and deal with?
No, I think ADHD burnout is more severe generally. And it
Okay.
is like you mentioned it already, but it is a term that is super overused. Like a lot of psychology terms got really watered
Yeah.
down because of our friends' social media. And it became like popularized. And so now it's
Yeah.
like slang for like, I'm tired, but it's
Yeah.
like ADHD burnout is like shut down. Like your
Okay.
brain is literally shutting down and your body is shutting down, and like your nervous system is trying to find like a sense of like it needs rest. It's like your body's way of saying, F you, you pushed too hard. Like now you're
And
going
this
to
is the
rest
outcome.
whether you want to or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for neurodivergent people, there is more of a risk of burnout becoming like a chronic state where
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
low line there all the time.
Mm.
Um, And I think we have more things that cause burnout than like neurotypicals because there's the interest levels. Like a lot of neurotypicals can just like do a task, whatever it is. And I think we just can't. And
Yep,
so if we're pushing ourselves to do it a lot, it's just harder. And then you're monitoring your environment. Your nervous system is generally like more hyper aware of stuff. And
totally.
there's all the extra energy of like the things you forgot or lost or dropped or whatever.
Or left in the toaster. Yes.
Or left in the which is like, then that means I didn't eat breakfast either.
Yep.
So then there's just like a cascade of things that I think can make it more likely to get burnout as an ADHDer.
And how can we recognize that we're getting into the burnout mode? Because I've even heard, I've heard the term window of tolerance, like when you're getting outside of your window of tolerance, which I'm sure is a real thing, but I can't bear the terms. Like it's overused a lot. Like when someone's in a bad mood, they're like, I'm outside of my window of tolerance. It's like you're actually just in a bad mood. You just need to eat something and like you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But how can we as ADHDers recognize when we're getting burnt out? Because I'm the sort of ADHD where I don't know how to say it without I wouldn't say I'm shallow, but I'm not very introspective because I've got so much going on in my head that I don't really take the time to notice my sort of physical state and how that's connected with my mental state until it's completely too late. It's until I've like snapped at my parents or my boyfriend that I then realize, oh, I'm not in a good space right now. So how can we recognize it before it gets to that point?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean, mindfulness practices, they just work like, and they are
Mm,
really hard. And I always hear ADHDers resisting them, like, oh, I can't sit
yep,
and meditate. But I think the problem is like back to what you keep saying about all these overused words. Like,
always.
meditation is super misunderstood. It doesn't
Mm,
mean sit down and clear your mind, it just means
yep.
notice what's happening in your mind. That's it.
Mm,
If you're noticing what's happening in there, you're meditating. You can do it
mm,
while you're washing dishes. You can do it while you're on a walk. You can do it
mm,
while you're folding laundry. Like it doesn't have to be like
mm.
sitting down
To
in
clear
lotus
your head.
position, like clearing your brain. Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Um, but yeah, mindfulness practices work. Self-compassion practices also work. And
mm,
Dr. Kristen Neff is a researcher here in the States that has a book on that and a lot of really great like trainings.
mm,
But it just kind of creates distance between like you and then the busy brain and then all the feelings and the emotional state. But like
mm.
it sounds like you do have quite a lot of self-awareness because you're like, well,
Yeah.
I start to snap at my boyfriend or my parents and I know I'm like hungry and I need to
Yeah.
eat. It's
I
like,
need to eat, yeah.
yeah.
I think it's more like I don't want to get to where I snap. I don't notice what's happening beforehand. The only thing I've been able to identify when I know I'm going to be like I call it the red mist. I've said this a few times when it's like I can't I'm not coming back down from this. And it's only in a setting with people that I love, so my parents and my boyfriend. So I guess it's good in that way that I don't do it like random strangers or at work, but it's like the red mist and it's when I'm at a 10. And if you say to me, calm down, or are you outside of your window of tolerance, I would like smash a plate over someone's head. Like it would just send me over. And the only thing I can identify is my throat, yes, starts to hurt. When I get to that stage, I could get a lump and then I'm just there already. And after I come back down, the damage, it's already done. And I hate getting to that point. I don't like it. People think that like people enjoy getting angry and ADHD is a fire. I hate getting angry. It's my least favorite like emotion and experience. I hate it.
Yeah. The irritability is like big for me
Oh,
too.
it's awful.
It, yeah.
It's
And it is
horrible. It's
like
gross.
it is. It feels awful. And it's like,
Mm,
and sometimes you are aware like it's like an overreaction. But I think
mm,
first of all, if it happens and you apologize and you acknowledge like why it happened, or like
mm.
I think people can be pretty understanding.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like because your brain's going a million miles an hour, you're not going to catch it. So it's more like instead of trying to force yourself to like catch it, build in the rest throughout your day and like if that means like putting on your, like I literally have like two calendars and a timer and my phone alarms, like going off and being like, eat something now. And then just things to like force you to maintain your basic needs, drink water, eat, go
Yeah.
outside for a little bit, like
Yeah.
get some sunlight. You know, it's
Sleep.
like basic stuff, but it, like we all generally, like every ADHD I've talked to, like is bad at that stuff,
Yeah.
including me. I've been a wellness like expert for 15 years and I don't, and it's hard for me to do all the things. Like I know what they are, but it's hard to do them. So it's just figuring out what those strategies, tools, or systems, or like you have your dog. So that's actually really great. Get a dog because then you are forced to go outside and walk around 2 times a day at a minimum, you know? So it's just like, what things can you put in your life that are like accountability forcing functions? Like sometimes I'll just schedule lunch meetings with people because then I have to go and sit and have a lunch, you know?
I love that.
So it's just, yeah, you have to get ahead of yourself a little, maybe. There's
definitely
perhaps better strategies, but I feel like I cannot trust myself to catch it every time. I'd rather try and prevent it.
No, and most people don't catch it. Even neurotypicals, like they completely lose the plot, and like even in public and with people they don't know, and they can't even catch it. So it is hard to expect ADHDers to catch it all the time. It's hard being a human. I was talking to another guest yesterday, and they were like, it's just hard being a human, like without being like self-victimizing, but it's just hard to exist. It's just hard. And then if you've got ADHD, it makes things just a lot harder at times, and we just have to be nicer to ourselves and not feel so bad about it.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, and people like roll their eyes, and look, I think it is again something that's overused, but being nice to your inner child, which makes me chuckle a bit, but it's like you would never talk to a child in that way. You would never be so hard on a child. I mean, you might be horrible, but you would never do that to a child. So just, be nice to little you, which makes me laugh, and I shouldn't laugh, but it is true. Like you wouldn't speak like that to a friend. So yeah, you don't need to speak like that about yourself either.
Yeah. And a lot of ADHDers have like really negative, and mean inner voices because we've heard more, I forget what the stat is, but we've heard way more negative things at us, like than other people. Yeah. So you internalize that when you're a kid, and then it is something. I mean, I did internal family systems therapy, which is like basically talking to your inner children. Like there's multiple ones. Yeah. And they all develop at like different times. It's super trippy and weird. It's like the most bizarre. It's like going inside a weird movie, but
I don't want multiple children inside me. I don't want that. That's why I'm like,
sorry.
I don't want multiple children inside.
Like this.
Oh my God. So tell me about that. We have multiple children inside.
Well, it's like a theory in psychology, and it's actually like used primarily for trauma treatment, but it's super helpful for any kind of like self-compassion stuff, because the concept is that there's lots of different parts of us. So it's like there's a part of you that shows up a certain way at work. There's a part of you that's like hyper responsible. There's a part of you that's like super silly and fun. Like we all have these different parts of ourselves, and then like some of them kind of like fragment off at different ages when we're a child, like because of certain events that happen. So like you could have a part that developed to like protect you when you were 3 or 4 because something happened, and then that part will take over, and that could be the part that's causing you to have the red mist reaction. It might be one of your parts that's like telling you need to speak up for yourself, or whatever it is. Only you will know. But like when you go in and kind of like, it's weird, it's super weird, and only do it with a therapist. Don't do it by yourself, and don't do it with AI. But like,
no, oh my God, can you imagine? Someone has done that, and people will be doing that. Guys, do not do it. That sounds very similar to and not to confuse it with that, but with the idea like when people have multiple personalities and they have like the alter, and they because I've seen it with people, and obviously like I've seen it terribly represented on Dr. Phil, where he'll like bring someone on and he'll be like, who am I speaking to? And it'll be like the child of in that person's brain. And it's like that child is the one that they need to protect. It sounds very similar to that. And it's because if you've experienced immense trauma, your brain almost has to fracture to deal with all of these, traumatic experiences. So it sounds very similar to that in a way. But
it's the same.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
pretty much the same, but
Okay.
multiple personality disorder is like a
Is-
disordered version of it,
Yes.
like where it's become externalized and the person doesn't have awareness of the parts and they just take over and the like. So in internal family systems, you have like what's called yourself, and it's identical to me, at least, to what you have when you do meditation and like Buddhists or whatever, like talk about like removing yourself from the ego or like your core self. It's the same thing in internal family systems, but it's like the true you. And like some people call it the soul, or, you know, like there's all kinds of words for it. But it's the part of you that I think in internal family systems they say it's the part of you that's compassionate, curious, and connected. So like these 3 C words. And that's like that part of you is always going to make good decisions. And it's basically like the adult inside of you, like the mature part of you that is wise and sees everybody and can like hold all the hard stuff. So it's actually super cool, and it is really helpful. And there's a lot of research that shows that kind of therapy is super effective. And I think it is valuable for ADHDers just because we've heard so many negative, like you don't have to have major trauma for something like that to like cause parts to develop, and everybody has them. And they're not bad. Like that's kind of what you learn in IFS is like, they're all there to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. At the beginning, it just sounds scary when it's like there's children inside you. You're like, what? Yeah. But then that makes sense. In terms of therapy and coping mechanisms, are you someone who takes medication for ADHD, or do you have systems in place that you feel makes it so that you don't need to take medication? You have, therapy and strategies, or do you do a combination of all of those things?
Yeah, before I had a baby, I did meditation, and exercise was like my main thing. Like I walked a ton. I lived in San Francisco, so I walked everywhere, and I would do like hot yoga and stuff. Exercise is super helpful, and I should do it more now, but that was my main thing. And routine was helpful, even though it's hard and I don't like routine and I mess it up. Like at least trying to have one was really helpful. Now after I had my baby, I do take medication. Like it was really hard to maintain my sleep, keep a schedule, like all the things I did before were super hard to do with the kids. So, and I think my symptoms got worse too. So, like pregnancy brain makes ADHD brain like more crazy.
I have so much. So much to look forward to. Like I really do. Like it's really good. Like I'm kidding, but it's like I have so much to look forward to. It's like I'm gonna have pregnancy, brain, and it's gonna be great, guys. I'm so excited because I really want kids. But this is it's great. I'm excited. Sounds fun.
Okay. But like you have an advantage that because already, like I just got slapped in the face with all of this. So I think for me, it was like, and it was also, I had moved at the same time. I like there were just so many things going on. I would have done it differently. I think pregnancy doesn't have to be so disruptive, or like kids don't have to be so disruptive if you can like plan ahead. And also it's super fun. Like, I feel like I have a lot of energy compared to a lot of my friends who are just like constantly complaining they can't keep up with their kids. And I'm like, I don't really feel like I have that problem. So there's things to look forward to also.
I'm looking forward to that because even like when I spend time because I love children, I really want them. Whenever I spend time with like children or even like babies, and people like, doesn't that annoy you? Like having kids constantly ask you questions. Like I view children like little ADHD things, so it's great to be with them. Like they're just I'm on the same level as them. Not that I'm childish, but it's like, it's great. Like, I want to ask a lot of questions and crawl around on the ground and pretend. Like, that sounds great to me. Like, that does not bore me at all. I don't find that annoying at all. So hopefully when I have my own kids, it'll be like, yeah, let's like do that. And I won't be complaining, hopefully, all the time.
No, if you do,
Yeah.
it's okay. Like
No, of
you'll
course it's
be
okay.
fine. Yeah, you'll be
Yeah.
fine and you'll
Yeah.
adjust just like everything else you've done in your life. And
Yeah.
it's just an adjustment, but you'll like knowing ahead that you have ADHD before you get into it, and then you can
Yeah.
like talk to your doctor and all that before and like
Definitely.
be more prepared, then it will be okay.
Checks
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
how do you find it parenting as an ADHDer? You know, you said you've got more energy. Is it, I mean, look, I'm not a parent, but I can assume parenting is hard, whether you are ADHD or not. People say it's the hardest and best thing that they do. But tell me a bit more about that, about being an ADHD mum.
Yeah. Well, I think like it, like you said, the questions and like the way kids are so curious and they follow everything and they have to touch everything and like
Yeah,
explore everything. That's fun for me. I like
I love
it.
it.
And yeah, like the only thing that's I think really difficult for me is the sensory overload. It's just
Mm,
like because my daughter is I mean, she's the best. She always wants to be like hugging and snuggling, but I do get sensory overload, so I have to
fair,
just manage that. But
fair.
uh I mean, I don't know what it's like to be a parent without ADHD, so I'm not sure I can compare, but I when I do notice other families, like when I go to like kids' birthday parties from like her classmates at school
Yeah.
and stuff like that, I
Mm.
feel like they look bored with their lives. And I'm like, wake up. Like there's
I thought
so
you were
much
going to say,
life to
I feel like I'm
experience.
really bad, but you're like, they seem bored. I
They
love
do.
that. Yeah.
Like they're
Okay.
just like stand and they all complain. Like they're all complaining the whole time about like how hard it is to be a parent. And I'm like, yeah, it's
Mm,
hard, but there's way more good things about it than hard things, I think. And kids
mm,
are just
the
amazing. Like
best.
we should all be more like kids.
I
They know
agree.
stuff.
I think kids are the best. Like I completely respect people who don't want to have children, like for whatever reason, but people who are like, I dislike children, I find that so strange. I find that really bizarre. Like you don't have to have them or anything, but to be like, I dislike children when you were once a child, I find that very bizarre. Children can be annoying. Like I don't particularly like teenagers because I was a very annoying teenager, but kids are great. They are so much fun. They're beautiful. I love them. They're great. They make the world
Those
go
people,
round.
they do.
They
People
do.
who don't like kids need IFS therapy because they're disconnected from their
Mm.
inner child. That's why. I swear that's why. Yeah, it's
Because
just
it's just a
like,
weird take to have. Like it's just weird. Like people are like I hate children, or when children are in public, because you know children exist in public. People are like, oh, crotch goblins. They're everywhere. It's like you know, children are actually human, and they have a right to exist in the world. We were all once
mhm.
children. They're allowed to share space, but yeah, maybe they need to do some inner child work because to hate children, I find that a bit strange. I find it a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I don't,
Just yeah,
yeah, I
it's
think, I
weird.
really think that maybe something happened and they're just disconnected because, yeah, it's not natural to not like want to protect or like engage with the child.
Yeah, or even people
Um,
make jokes like I want to kick them when I see them. It's like
oh
okay,
no.
yeah, like oh, can I kick it? Yeah, funny, but like not really. It's a bit weird. Like I don't know, something's happened there. Yeah, for that to be the yeah the reaction definitely.
Yeah. I do
Yeah,
understand why a lot of women are choosing not to have kids. Like it is a
definitely.
big
Totally
thing and
respect
like it's
that.
expensive and like
Mm,
I understand that, but I do feel
totally.
like it is a good it is a catalyst for a lot of growth, like personal growth
Yep.
if
I
you
think it's
want
great.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want it,
Yeah.
of course, of course. Now, I want to talk more about the community that you have created. Tell us about your Instagram. Tell us what you do on there. Who is it for, and what what can people get out of joining your community?
Yeah, it's called Divergently, and we're joined Divergently on Instagram, Threads,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, LinkedIn, I think. Yeah. And it's a community platform for late diagnosed neurodivergent women. So that's
Mm-hmm.
mostly women with ADHD and autism, but we have some people with like dyscalculia or brain injuries.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's a little bit of a range.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say like 60% come with ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And what people get is like this community we were talking about at the beginning, which is a room, like a safe private room online where like I try to describe it as like the lowest demand, least prickly place on the internet, which is like there's no ads in your face. There's no medical misinformation because I have a medical advisory board that vets everything we put out.
Oh,
We have
wow. That's
like
awesome.
we have therapists that moderate the chats. And so that
Wow.
if like people are going like there's people have to be nice or I'll kick them out because like
Yep.
I feel like if you have ADHD, you've just heard enough negativity in your life. Like this is a place where the goal is to be supported and give support because we need to give
Definitely.
support too to feel good about
Yeah.
ourselves. And
Yeah.
ADHDers have so much to offer, like
Hmm.
so much. And
Of
everybody in the
course.
community is like brilliant and it, like knows different things about different areas. So we even have like one room which is special interest show and tell. So like
Oh,
you
I
can
love
just
that.
come and like watch somebody talk about their special interest or teach you a new skill or like learn how to, I don't know, knit from someone or whatever it is you're into
Love that.
or want to try. And then it's like low commitment, right? So
Yeah.
you don't have to like buy all the stuff and like dive into it unless you want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And then we have body doubling sessions. So if you like need to clean out your closet or do work, you can come with whatever you have. Um, and we have access to experts. So I have like, there's an expert on adult friendships. We have
Mm-hmm.
one on executive functioning. We have a therapist who specializes in ADHD. We have women's
Love that.
hormonal health specialist. We have a dopamine decor person coming to do a workshop on like how to set up your space. So like all the
Dopamine
things,
decor. I love
yeah.
that.
Or dopamine dressing, like how
Wow.
to like it's sort of like
Yes.
unmasking, but in a way that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that doesn't put you at risk, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the other idea behind the community is like not everybody can disclose or talk about their just like their diagnosis with their family or
Mm.
at work. And some
Yeah.
people don't have a diagnosis, they're just like self-identified and they want
Mm.
a place to explore that. So we talk about like how to get an evaluation if you need one,
Mm.
like how to vet providers, how to talk to your provider, how to navigate the crazy like health insurance system, like stuff like that. So it's
Mm.
part support group and part like practical tools,
Mm.
and then hopefully part like fun.
That
Yeah.
sounds so comprehensive. Like, obviously, there's amazing ADHD accounts and creators out there, but this sounds so comprehensive. It sounds like a rec center. Like, you go there, you've got, your therapist, which you can go in. Then there's like the show and tell room, and then you can just, chat or just like relax. It sounds like, without overusing the word, it sounds like a really nice community. That sounds amazing. And a medical advisory board. That is phenomenal. That's great. We need more of that. I think people should have to go through that when they like start posting about ADHD. They should have a medical advisory board. That's amazing.
Yeah. I just like realized how hard it is to find information on the internet and like
Yes.
know what to trust. I was like, oh, this is so many women are going through this. Like there's
Mm,
got to be a way to like, yeah, like comprehensive is something I really thought about was like, where can you go and get everything you need and know it's already been vetted and tested and like people put thought behind it. And like, that's definitely my goal. And I love that you called it a rec center. I've never thought of that, but that's
yeah,
a perfect way to describe it.
it
Yeah.
is. Like that is just, it sounds like I could go there. Like when you were describing it, I was like, where are they based? Where can I go and just visit and walk in? That is fantastic. I love that. I want that. That's wonderful.
Well, you
That's
can
just great.
join. I'll send
Oh,
you the info.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it'll be in the show notes. I want to know more about the medical advisory board. How did you do that? That's like how does that
Yeah.
work?
Well, I because I worked in this space for a long time, I kind of
Mm,
had a sense of in my mind like who I needed on my team.
mm,
And so it took a while to get all the people together, but I basically like interviewed, well, I did a lot of cold emailing and like cold DMing on LinkedIn and just
Mm.
trying to get like these really smart, amazing people to talk to me. And then it was like many months of just talking about my vision and like learning about them and, like putting it together. And I'd say to get everybody I have now took like almost a year, like six
Wow.
months to a year. So it wasn't quick, but yeah, it's like super necessary. And it's just
Absolutely.
really, it's like relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
Basically. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like the, what do they call them on like on Twitter, like the community note, but instead it's like actually fact check note. You have that like in real life, and it's proper. Like that's, yeah. I love the sound of that. I was going to ask you, what is the most sort of misinformation or disinformation that you see come up in not only your space but just in the ADHD space? I know we talked about like over pathologizing certain behaviors, but what's the misinformation that you see come up quite a bit?
That ADHD only affects boys and kids. Like that's definitely like the number
Yeah.
one. And that's also partly why I made the community only for women, just because
Yep.
like girls are chronically underdiagnosed.
Yep.
And symptoms look different. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a big one, which is like also I hear a lot of like, oh, well, they don't look like they have ADHD, like as if there's like a look, which is very
Look.
strange.
Yeah.
And also I hear a lot of mm, I guess the misperception is like ADHDers are just like a hot mess. And I don't even think that's true. I think we can be. And sometimes
Yeah.
we feel like we are. Maybe people perceive us that way. But I do think that's way more of a stereotype than truth. Like we're high energy for sure.
Yep.
And I think to some people that looks like hot mess.
Yeah.
And even regarding the high energy piece, like I do see a lot of misinformation about like hyperactivity always being like busyness, but it's for
Yeah.
women especially, it's a lot of it is just mental.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's so much misinformation flying around. Like I could probably talk about that for an hour, but yeah, I think the biggest one is like doesn't affect adults. You can grow out of it. Doesn't affect
Yeah.
women. Like if you have a job, you're fine. Like that one too. And then I think
Yeah.
the disability versus superpower really bothers me because I'm
Mm.
like, it's not either or. It's not black and white. Like
Yes.
sometimes it's disabling and sometimes it feels like a
It's a
superpower or it
superpower.
is.
Yes.
But it also depends on how well resourced you are and how much support you have. Like a lot
And
of
your
people,
temperament. And just your
yeah, for
temperament and
sure.
how you take it. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think a lot of it too is like how people identify with it too. Like if they've found a way to like use it for the like use it in their life and use the benefits of it in the hyper focus and they've learned how to like harness that, they're more likely to say it's a superpower. Or if
Yeah.
they are like twice exceptional and they have giftedness on top of ADHD, they're more likely to say it's a superpower. But it's like that's the giftedness, not the ADHD.
Yeah.
Um, and I think people who generally got less support, either from family or school, or were subject to bullying or like
Yeah.
those things, are more likely to feel very disabled by it. And there is
Of
a
course.
range too of like your ability and how much executive functioning challenge you have. And like, so it's individual. It also changes over your life. It changes based on your support, but support helps everyone. So
Of course.
that's kind of like my mantra is like, we don't want to be fixed. We want to be supported.
Absolutely. I like the fact that you said it's not like either or, because I get, no, I wouldn't say annoyed, but it kind of like irks me a bit when I see people making comments, and usually it's online, and obviously online is not an accurate representation of the world. It's a small, subset, but where people go, I'm really tired of these toxic positive ADHDers saying that they love being ADHD, like bestie, you're disabled, like why are you saying that? And it bothers me because it's like that's fine if you find it disabling. Like I completely respect that. And if you come to me and say, I'm actually having a rough time, I'm not going to look at you and say it's wonderful. But yeah, I don't like that it's either or. It can be both sometimes, and it can be, um, one or the other. Like it can just, yeah, it's very varied, and I don't think there's like the right way. Like I'm more of a, I say superpower. I mean, I use it less now, but I like being ADHD, but I completely agree that it depends on who you are, if you can be medicated, if you have support. But I don't like it when people get upset when I say that. It's like, that's just me. I'm not saying you have to be that way, but that's just how I am. And I don't mind if you find it disabling and, you know, hate it even, you know. I wish you didn't hate it because I'd like you to be happy. But yeah, we tend to make it very polarizing. It's either it's a superpower or it's the worst thing in the world. And that's rarely the case for anything in life. It's a bit of
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. And that's also
Mm,
why I did a community and not just social media, because social media, the algorithms force you to pick a side. Like otherwise you don't
yes,
get your stuff seen. And so that's why people become so polarized. But it's like,
totally.
that's not healthy. We can't have good conversations around that. We
No.
can't like really identify what people need or where people feel good. And like, you're right. Everyone should feel good in their skin and like be
Yeah,
happy. And so
totally.
many ADHDers just don't. And if you're
Mm,
able to like feel confident in it and like that
mm,
it's something you are proud of, like that's awesome. You
mm.
should not have that taken away from you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it as long as you're not, you know, because I've even had like my parents say to me on like the pod, like they listen to my podcast and they're like, you know, just remember, even though you think it's wonderful, there are people who don't. And I know that, but then my attitude is just don't listen to my podcast if you find it like aggravating that I'm very positive about it. I try to present all sides, but that's just my experience, and I can only really go off of that. And I try to, you know, recognize that there are parts of it that are aggravating. And we've talked about it on here, you know, the red mist and all of that and burnout. There are parts that are not enjoyable, but I think it makes life a lot easier when you don't have to view it as a superpower, but when you don't like hate yourself for it. It just makes, I just think it makes your life easier. And I know it's not as easy as just stop hating yourself, but if you can get to that, it's a lot easier. Like life is a lot easier if you can be okay with it and know that like this is the way it is. This is the brain I have and I'm going to be ADHD forever. So you just not have to get over it, but just be okay with it.
Yeah, acceptance. It's just
Mm,
like your brain
yeah.
is like you're right, like hating yourself or being upset about it is not going to change it.
No.
I mean, I go both ways. Some days I'm like so irritated with myself and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, my
Oh,
stupid
same.
brain.
Oh, same. Oh, same. Same.
But then I'm like,
Yeah.
I love you, brain. You're not so stupid. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah. But
And
you're
I don't
right.
know any
Like,
different. You know, we don't know what it would be like. Some people say, would you like to be neurotypical? It's like, uh, maybe. I don't know. Like all the neurotypicals I know are boring. No, I'm kidding. But I don't, yeah, I wouldn't know.
yeah,
I
it's
wouldn't know
true.
any different. So it's just, yeah. And I think people get confused because they think, well, you wouldn't say to someone who has depression that they should be happy with being depressed. And it's like, yeah, well, ADHD is very different from being depressed or having anxiety. I would suggest to anyone who's dealing with that that they should seek treatment and help. But it's very different from, yeah, being ADHD. Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah. I
different.
mean, everyone thinks ADHD is a mental illness, but it's not. It's like a
It's not.
neurodevelopmental disorder. Like it's a
Yes.
learning disability, essentially, like how it's classified. And
Yep.
it's not a mental illness.
It's
And
not.
depression is usually like deep burnout, I think.
Yep.
Basically, your body is like really resting because it's been through some stuff, or you're just really misaligned in your life. And yeah, you need help for that. And that's
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
totally okay. I think, yeah, people think because ADHD has comorbidities that it's a mental illness, but it's not. You might have ADHD and depression. It's not because ADHD, yeah, makes you depressed. And also I would say there are no benefits to being depressed. Like depression just has negative side effects. Like no one ever says, "Oh, I really like this symptom of my depression." Whereas at least with ADHD, and not that it's a competition or we're saying it's bad to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, be depressed, we're not judging, but with ADHD, there's so many wonderful traits that come out of it. Whereas depression, it's an illness. It really damages people. It just wreaks havoc on one's life. Whereas at least with ADHD, there's a lot of positives, creativity, ingenuity, and like being quite funny and all of that. Whereas with, depression or any other sort of mental illness, it's just very negative. It just has really negative side effects for people. So it's ADHD is not a mental illness. It's neurodevelopmental or learning. Yeah.
And I do think when that comorbidity comes in, it's because like if it's with the ADHD, a lot of times it's because the ADHD is unmanaged, unsupported, undiagnosed.
Totally.
Or like
exactly.
There's like anxiety is often a misdiagnosis for ADHD, especially in women.
Yes. I was talking to someone yesterday and they were diagnosed, I think, first with anxiety and depression, which was accurate in a way, but also like they missed the ADHD part. And then once they got diagnosed with ADHD, it all sort of added up and it's like, oh, this is what it was. Yes, some of it was anxiety, but a lot of these untreated symptoms, it was untreated symptoms of ADHD, which then, once you realize that, the outcomes with, depression, anxiety are a lot better, when that's managed. Agreed.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's why it's so great you have this podcast so people can learn more about ADHD and then advocate for themselves and each other.
Yes, no, and your community is so wonderful. I'm going to put it in the show notes. Before we wrap up, and I say this to all my guests, any words of wisdom, what would you like people to know about ADHD? And these can be other ADHDers or neurotypicals. What is something that you want them to take away from this conversation? If they haven't taken away so much, what would you like them to take away from it?
It's nothing to be afraid of. Like if if someone tells you they have ADHD or you work with someone with ADHD, like don't start acting weird. They're the same person they were before they told you that. Like, I think that news freaks people out, but that's just the stigma attached to it. It's not the person that you know. So just love the person you know and then ask them how you can support them. And if you are that person with ADHD, disclose when it's safe and you feel like it's helpful. And if it's not, like, you don't have to just because the whole internet is telling you to. And I think, it's like everything is better when we just have a little empathy for each other.
Absolutely. And where can people find you? Plug your socials, even though you should not be always on social media, guys, as we've said in this episode, but plug your socials, your site. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, I'm at joindivergently.com and then at Join Divergently. And then my personal one is at it's Kendra Koch, which is my name, and I will spell it out for you so you have it for the show notes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been a delight. It's been wonderful. I want to keep having these conversations, and I'm definitely going to be joining Divergently because I want to join that rec center. It sounds amazing. So guys, make sure you follow, and I will see you all in the next episode.